All right, we are live, Ben. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tusif.
How's everything on your end?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I get to be working from, the comfort of my home and getting to do work that's meaningful for business owners. So this is really a dream of mine.
That's awesome. And especially, I know we were doing quite a few videos last year, but we slowed down a little bit for the tax season and such. Now the tax season coming towards the end. Now we're coming back to help people to organize their stuff again so that for either within from now or to October 15th, or even preparing for next year, I would love to have people to uh, understand how things work and to get prepared for both tax, the records, and all those kind of businesses sorted out. Before we get into it, I appreciate Ben you reaching out. I would love to have you introduce because last time we didn't have you. I would love to have a little bit of background on you before we get into all the nitty-gritties on the books.
Well, thanks, Tusif. Yes, I was just going to say it's October 1st already, so we're going into Q4. So this is perfect timing as a lot of people are probably beginning to, scramble in terms of getting other things together. So I hope this is timely. But yeah, my name is Ben, and I actually live out on the West Coast. I have a family of six, and again, I get to do what I love. I would say my journey kind of started, and I'll keep this really brief. It started about 8 years ago or so when our family was actually living overseas, and the door opened for us to start a business. Wasn't our intention whatsoever, but it just felt like a natural thing to do. And so over the course of time, we ended up hiring artisans to produce wood and textile and ceramic tableware and home goods that my wife actually created. And so we did that for several years. And so that's kind of where I cut my teeth on bookkeeping, basic as it was, which is why I think our topic today is so relevant, is I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I obviously took math classes in high school and I was a B student, but it wasn't until I really had to do the books and keep track of the numbers for an international export business that it really became relevant to me. So maybe that's your situation as well. Maybe you love the idea of starting a business. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, but that really isn't your lane when it comes to the numbers part of it. You love starting things. You're a visionary. You love creating things. You have a vision for the future. But these are the things that really propelled this business into being able to become something that we could actually feed our family off of. And then when we moved back here, kind of suddenly about 7 years ago or so, we actually brought the business back here, and my wife continued doing the creation of the products, and I did everything else. And
That's
so
awesome.
that's where I developed a heart just to help other business owners as well, having come out of it myself.
And to be honest, I feel like in US, it's very interesting for us because we excel in any kind of business when we come from a pain. For
Hmm.
you, there was a pain or accident of, hey, how do I reconcile things? For me, someone messed up my taxes, so I ended up from engineering to becoming a tax professional. So it's really interesting how life goes on and how things go on. So
Hmm.
we're going to jump right into our topic today for the entire basics for bookkeeper, and especially if you're a beginner, uh, how can you start? So tell us a little bit small in a brief, what the heck is this bookkeeping thing, Ben?
Well, bookkeeping essentially is just the organization of the transactions and the financials so that you can get reports essentially. Every business owner wants to be able to make data-driven decisions. And so without that ability to have the information, you really don't know where your business is. And so I would say in a nutshell, that's what bookkeeping is just organizing everything that's kind of happening at the surface level of your business. And the topic today really is for those of you who are kind of the DIYers. You're just starting, you're at the very beginning of the process, and we actually want to help give you the tools to be able to do the bookkeeping yourself until you reach that point where, maybe it's becoming a burden for you, or your business grows to the point where you can't handle it anymore, or you just want to use your time to do other things. But for the majority of people starting out, this is actually something that you can tackle yourself. And so I think this is all very important for you.
Awesome. So just for the perspective, if you are a small business owner starting out, especially if you are at a point that it does not make sense for your business to hire a bookkeeper, this is like the gem, because in this video, we're going to discuss what to do, how to do it, and technically speaking, save quite a bit of money. And especially when you're talking to your tax professional, save a lot of hassles and back and forth. And
Hmm.
for the people who already have it, at least whenever someone is giving you something, your bookkeeper is giving you some reports or whatever they're giving, you have the basic understanding of what am I getting? Am I getting what I'm supposed to? So that's a great perspective. So in that case, just to follow up on that, is of course we understand what the bookkeeping is, we understand why we should keep the books and so on and so forth. Say, for example, I'm just the beginner. How do I start?
Hmm. Well, the first place to start is probably with a spreadsheet, to be honest with you. It's a great place for a small business owner to get up and running, whether it's locally on your computer or whether it's, cloud-based, like a Google Drive sheet, something like that. Very great for small business owners. Um, Obviously, it becomes more challenging as your business grows. Human errors can creep in eventually, but again, just very basic is just a spreadsheet where you're keeping track. And honestly, I have a business actually right now that I'm starting, that I'm doing this in because I'm not able to justify the expenses at this point. So I just have a Google Sheet and I keep track of money in and money out. The equity, the contributions, the capital that I'm putting in to to start the LLC, to open the bank account, things like that. Those are all kept in a spreadsheet until I get to what the next stage would be some type of bookkeeping software. I use QuickBooks Online, both for my own businesses and for those clients that I help. This is going to give you features like your bank feeds. It's going to give you a chart of accounts. You're going to be able to categorize transactions. You can reconcile accounts. You can generate reports. You can track your customers and your vendors. And so that would be kind of the next level up from just the spreadsheets. And then obviously things to look for when you're looking for some type of bookkeeping software. You want to find something that has a user interface that's easy to use, both on the desktop and the mobile version. You want to look for something that's easy to integrate apps. For example, construction companies have certain apps that they use for invoicing or for tracking projects, that type of thing. And so for those of you who are industry specific, that type of thing is very relevant. Payroll as well. You might find that you're using, your current payroll system. Is it going to integrate with your bookkeeping system? That's very critical that those two things are able to marry very closely. Customer support is also a very important thing to look for, and then cost. So when you're looking for bookkeeping software, those are things that you want to keep in mind. There's obviously other things such as, users. If you have multiple users, what is the cost going to be for that? You're going to want to track things like your mileage. So having an app like QuickBooks Online app, you can just go in and it's super easy just to track your miles. If you have physical receipts that you need to take pictures of and capture, that might be part of the equation. So those are just kind of the basics when it comes to where do I begin. One of them is free, but over time you're going to realize that, a 20 or $30 investment per month is really peanuts when it comes to the functionality and the peace of mind that comes knowing that everything is in its proper place. And that's what a software will afford you.
Awesome. Because of course, coming from an engineering background, I didn't have any idea, like it's some basic knowledge, but when it comes down to running a business, I didn't have much of an idea to even have it. And I was someone who was the DIY guys, and you spoke about quite a few terms like chart of accounts, so on and so forth. And to be honest, there was a time I didn't even have any idea what the heck those meant.
Hmm.
So if I were to start learning about bookkeeping at home, I'm just starting a business. How should I do that?
Probably YouTube, to be honest with you, like most other things that people just go and look for. There's a lot of some of the bigger companies have blog posts that you can learn from, but YouTube is probably going to be the place where all of the all the answers kind of come together in one place. So I would say just YouTube, people who are posting content, and look up exactly what it is that you want to learn about, whether it's a chart of accounts or whether it's how to pay yourself or just how to distinguish personal expenses from business expenses. So you can just go and type in whatever it is that you're looking for, and there's probably somebody on there who's posted some content um, on the subject. And honestly, I'm hoping that we are going to be one of those places where you come back to time after time for those answers as as our repertoire of resources grows on this channel. I'm hoping one day soon that you'll be able to find everything that you're looking for, and as you ask questions, that we can answer them and point you in the right direction.
Awesome. And for the viewers, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them, or even feel free to reach out via Facebook as well. And just to follow up on the previous what you said, of course. So, for example, I'm a busy professional who was working on 9 to 5, 8 hours a day, coming back to focus on my business. Now you're saying me that, hey, you need to learn from thousands of videos of YouTube. It's going to be very difficult. So point me to a few terms that I need to know for as a business owner that I can at least not rupture or destroy my books. Few,
Hmm.
let's be maybe 5 to 10 terms at max that I need to know for my business or my bookkeeping so that I don't mess up my books. And eventually, when I grow, I can hire someone like you to take care from there. And you're not panicked that, hey, where am I starting?
Great question. I'll give you five of the most popular or common bookkeeping terms that you should know. First one is income, and you might say, well, duh, yeah, income. This refers to the sales, the services that you perform, that you get paid for. This could also be interest that you make if you're loaning money. This could be rent that you're collecting if you have properties. This could be royalties that you're, that are coming in. So essentially, just your income is any money that's coming in and is typically taxable, unless you have a special way to decrease that taxable income. That's what your income is going to be. That's number one. Number two is going to be expenses. This is the fixed variable accrued or day-to-day costs that a business incurs through its operations. This is going to be your overhead costs. This is going to be what you pay for a building. This is going to be, technology or subscriptions that you need. This is going to be things like utilities, any of the expenses that your business incurs. Okay, that's number two. Number three would be chart of accounts. So this is just a full list of accounts that are used in your business to categorize financial transactions. This can include assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. Those are typically the five parts of the chart of accounts. I have plans of getting into those a little bit more on a future video, but chart of accounts would be number three. So income, expenses, chart of accounts. Fourth one would be the profit and loss, sometimes also called the P&L. This is a financial report that tells you your revenue and your expenses over a period of time. And then your balance sheet, which is a report that breaks down your business's financial situation. So it includes, your assets, your liabilities, and the capital of the business. Its purpose is actually to help show what the business owns and what the business owes. So those are typically your two key reports that you'll have each month that a bookkeeper will absolutely give to you. But if you're doing it yourself, those are the reports that you want to stay on top of because without them, you will lack clarity when it comes to the financial state of your business.
Awesome. So we did break down quite a bit of on there. We'll summarize afterwards, but to understand those, is there any specific standards you would like someone to follow just in case, say for example, I Google these 5 things, I was able to figure those out. Is there any specific ways that you want them to be following or any specific practice you would prefer over others?
That's a good question. I think when you're starting out, just making sure that you have all of these things. So if you have your bank account connected to a piece of software like QuickBooks Online, you will actually reduce the risk of missing out on certain expenses. So that's where I would recommend having some type of bank feed and then using that bank account for all of your business transactions. So if you have a debit card or a credit card that's connected to your software, the chances of you having anything fall between the cracks is almost none. I've seen it once or twice in thousands of transactions. So it's almost completely foolproof. If you're using a spreadsheet and you're paying cash for things, the chances of you missing out on expenses, payments to vendors or things like that, the chances of you missing out on using those business deductions is going to be a lot higher. So I would say try and try and optimize that process where all of your income and all of your expenses are kind of flowing through the same account. That would be my advice for a first timer.
Interesting. So you spoke about quite a bit of accounts. Is there any specific type of accounts you prefer over others, saving, checking, multiple, or how would you sort it out? Because a lot of the times people set up a business. Of course, legally, you technically can commingle your expenses as long as your intentions are correct and you can clarify them, but it is a nightmare of a mistake, I'd say.
Mm,
In case something happens, it's going to be a full nightmare to separate things out with RS. So is
mm.
there any specific account types that you would recommend people?
The bare bones would be one checking account. If you want to
So
minimize your mistakes, just do one checking account. You might say, well, I like to have a credit card for collecting points. I understand that. I do that. Most of my clients do that. But just for simplicity, if you're just starting out, keep it to one account. Even if it means that you're um, yeah, because like you said, and I appreciate that you brought this up, is that at the beginning, you're actually putting a lot of your own money into starting an LLC and opening a bank account and things like that. So that's where um, the spreadsheet approach is going to feel um, kind of limiting and a little bit, complex at the same time because you're going to have your business bank account that is slowly accumulating money as you make sales. And then you have your personal bank account, which, a lot of your initial costs are coming out of. So a, a spreadsheet is going to need to be, separated, maybe two separate spreadsheets that have what you've put in with I should use this hand here to keep it consistent. What you've put in terms of capital for your business that's personal, and then the money that's come in that's business. So that's where having as few bank accounts as possible at the beginning is going to be to your advantage. Also knowing though that you're going to have to track what you put in personally to the business, if
So
that makes.
technically speaking, someone is trading off either the difficulties of tracking versus the difficulties of managing multiple accounts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So in these cases, of course, how would you rate between uh, the difference between, say, for example, someone speaking as bookkeeper or someone saying as an accountant or someone maybe doing it right?
Mm.
How and when would you consider someone to transition in between them?
Well, I would say just one last thing from the last point. I highly recommend using personal funds to purchase some type of software. The trade-off is not even close when you consider, a 20 or $30 a month investment. Just to know that things are being done right. You might say, well, I'm trying to pinch pennies. I don't want to spend money if I'm not making money, but you get to use that as your initial capital for the business to have a method of staying organized so that you can sleep at night, so you can actually grow your business, as
Yeah,
opposed to waiting till the end of the year, knowing that, my overhead was $0, and yet you're losing sleep because you know that the spider web ahead of you is going to, take you 10 or 20 or 30 hours to untangle. And I've seen it. I've seen it. A lot of
I've
people.
done
Yep. Yeah,
it.
exactly. Of course you have. And so I have a feeling most of those people, when that time comes, they would say, I would much rather have spent $200 or $300 and saved this headache. So don't pinch pennies to the detriment of your own health or keeping you from being able to run your business. So getting back to your question, I tell people as a rule of thumb, once you're, making $100,000, um, you probably need someone who's going to be doing your books for you. That's just the truth. Again, you don't need a formal degree or any qualifications to do the books yourself. So there are people probably who, are CEOs and doing their own books. There's probably not many of them, but there are some who feel like they want to, have control of that. And so it's probably hurting them in some sense, but it's possible to do. So, a bookkeeper is going to, you asked about kind of the difference between a bookkeeper versus an accountant versus a DIYer. So a bookkeeper essentially is going to, like I said earlier, organize your financial data, which is where you're going to get your reports from. It's going to categorize your transactions. A bookkeeper is going to reconcile your accounts. They may even run your payroll. They're going to help track inventory. They're going to run your reports. They might remit your sales tax, that type of thing. It can be done monthly or quarterly or even annually, whether you do it yourself or whether you hire somebody else, depending on the size of your business and how current you want your reporting to be. That's a decision that you can make, especially as you're starting. Typically, a bookkeeper is cheaper than paying a CPA to do your books. Their fees are, I found, between $150 and $250 an hour that they'll charge to do your books, which is why some business owners would say, no, I'd actually rather have a bookkeeper to do it because it's more economical. And most business owners find that accounting firms are actually too busy to do their books. So even if they're paying to have a CPA do their books, it gets very frustrating because CPAs are focused on higher ticket clients, on more of the technical work as opposed to just the bookkeeping. So, and accountants, I mean, you can probably speak better to this, but just in general, they're going to produce the financial statements and tax returns that comply with the law. They may do adjusting journal entries that are made by bookkeepers for things like depreciation, and they're going to be the ones focused more on tax strategies, planning, financial forecasting, auditing, preparing business plans. Those are kind of down the road terms that you don't necessarily need to even know right now, but that's what an accountant would do. And a DIYer is just what it sounds like. You be the bookkeeper, you take control of the books for your own business. Of course, there's pros and cons. You'll need to weigh out the time and the cost. And depending on the state that you're at in your business, the solution for you personally may vary. You might have more time, you might have more money, but those are all decisions that you can make, and you can actually do a good job of your books starting off.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially when I was beginning, I was trying to do everything myself, and the issue became I actually slowed down my growth.
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons that, of course, now I felt like, especially the reason, of course, for the viewers, myself and Ben are partnering up to help people out the best possible ways, because helping with the book, especially the reconciliation, people
Hmm.
mix things up so much. It is so much time consuming and sometimes frustrating to get down the rabbit hole to figure those out. And if at the end of the day you miss out on things, it's really, really difficult.
Hmm.
That's why I guess I feel like we suggest people to, if you are hiring, one of the things that we are trying to help people out is have everything in-house. That way, the categorization and the strategies you're getting from the same place. It
Hmm.
helps out with streamlining your process, streamlining your business, and everything in between.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
those are some of the great points. So just to summarize, I know we don't want to make it too long. We wanted to keep it less than 30 minutes. But just to summarize, as we spoke, um, of course, if you are not there yet, you don't know anything, let's go ahead and start some YouTube videos. Some of the things that you should know is terms, income, expenses, chart of accounts. Under chart of accounts, you need to understand what's assets, liabilities, and also equity, owner's equity. And then we talked about what you need to be knowing in terms of P&L, profit and loss, and
Hmm.
balance sheet, which are the basic elements of any bookkeeper that you're going to be getting. The practices, of course, from practices and accounts, of course, we want to keep yourself as simple as possible. And as you grow, there might be things like profit first systems that you encourage. We sometimes even encourage people as you grow, especially to keep your taxes separate than your income, so that
Hmm.
at the end of the year, when you're like, hey, I already spent my money, now I owe a $10,000 tax bill, so that those things does not come up. And of course, the biggest challenge becomes, especially at the beginning, when you're spending from your personal credit card, but reimbursing yourself. And also, it also depends on what type of structure this is. If it's a single member LLC, it's easier. If it's a C corp, it's a difficult thing. Or just cannot take it out unless you have a formal procedure, written procedures in most cases, as reimbursable plan or your distributions or any other expenses that you're paying it out. So if you want us to help you out, definitely feel free to reach out. I will drop the link where you can reach out to Ben or myself in the description below. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out in any of our socials. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Before we close out, any last thoughts, Ben?
Yes. Yeah, I would say for any beginner, bookkeeping can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't need to be. You'll actually sleep better and feel better and do better in your business when when you're organized. So I would just say don't leave it to last minute. That's one of the things that I feel like people regret the most is they feel
Mm-hmm.
as though, hey, if I just take a weekend, uh, at New Year's, then I can just kind of get it all done. The only problem with that, though, is that it's harder to kind of undo mistakes or even going back 12 months in your own mind. How many of those things are you going to remember when there's question marks for transactions that happened in January and
Yeah.
February and March? You're going to be looking for crucial information when you're already feeling the pressure of having to get it done. Like I got to get it to my CPA, I got to get my 1099s out. So if you want timely reports as well, you want timely information. So the value of front loading those things and scheduling a time, maybe every weekend, or if it's not that much, then once a month or at least once every quarter to sit down for a few hours and actually stay ahead of those things so that you're not having to scramble at the end. Keeping your books organized is going to help you in many ways in life, both professionally and personally. And
Hmm.
I know that when your business is just, everywhere, you're scattered, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you take work home with you. So you can't just leave all those things at the office. When you come home, you're still rehearsing, okay, what needs to be done? What's my to-do list? So you
Yeah.
don't want those things to be on your mind and weighing heavy on you when you're at home and you want to be investing in your kids, or you're on vacation and you really want to just be able to leave work at work. So that's where either having some software or having a trusted expert in your corner is going to work wonders for you. Like I said, both professionally and personally. And we're happy to help you out. Reach out, and we're very quick to respond and happy to help.
Thanks. With that, for everyone, we are going to be doing this regularly again. If you have any questions, if you have any specific topics you want us to discuss, feel free to reach out or drop a comment. Would be more than happy to help them. With that, we'll see you everyone on the next one.